I can't believe that after a couple years of work, lots of experimenting, I just got a preview copy of my brand new book, Freeze Drying the Harvest. I wanted to take you guys back into the pantry and show you all the different foods that I have freeze dried. Here I am over in the pantry, and some of you guys who have been following probably remember that we added some extra shelves to the pantry this last year. Oh, wow. So it's kind of expanded. So right here, I have my shelves that hold all of my different vegetables that I have preserved in different ways. Now you can see that I have some things on here that are canned, some things that are dehydrated, but what you'll probably notice is a majority of it this year is actually freeze dried. That is because I love freeze drying. Not only is it super easy, and super fast, but it really holds the nutrition in really well. And most of the food tastes like fresh when it's been rehydrated. And so it actually has a much better food quality. It tastes a lot better. So here we've got a bunch of green beans. These we've been doing all year. We grew green beans here really well. For these, I just make sure I give them a quick blanch before I freeze dry them. When you do that, they rehydrate really, really well. And like instantly. Cabbage, a lot of cabbage. We have celery tops here. This makes a great pesto. It's actually my family favorite pesto here is celery top pesto. So we need to make sure that that is on hand because we go through a lot of that. Broccoli. Broccoli's a fun one because you really don't have another great way of preserving broccoli that makes it really taste good when you rehydrate it or when you go to serve it. Canned broccoli is awful. There's not safe canning recipes that have a lot of broccoli in them. But freeze-dried broccoli rehydrates and it is absolutely amazing. It's absolutely delicious. So this is some of our homegrown broccoli that we grew this year in the garden. And then again with the broccoli, I like to blanch it before I freeze dry it. It's kind of optional, but I find that it rehydrates really, really well like that. Some peas here. Ooh, this year I have started something I'm really excited about, and that is growing large amounts of green onions and then freeze drying them for when I want them for topping things in the winter. Freeze dried green onions last so well, but I often find that I just want a bunch or two just to top something like our family favorite pho, or if we're having baked potatoes or something like that. They're expensive from the grocery store. They only cost a couple cents to grow. They're really easy to grow. So it's always really hard for me to justify buying them at the grocery store off season when I know how easily I can grow them. But up until now, I haven't had a really great way to preserve them. So now I am growing a lot more green onions, slicing them and then freeze drying them so that I can use them whenever I want all year long without having to go to the grocery store. Let's see, I've got some different things here. This is a probiotic powder that I make out of my fermented foods. It's really great. This is out of fermented beets, which is why it's that great color. So this really helps if you want to add it into something. It really has a probiotic boost still. So it's a great way to get some more probiotics and some fun color into all sorts of things. Okay, I'll have a lot of herbs. Oh, another favorite here is the freeze-dried asparagus. This is the asparagus right out of our garden. It freeze-dries so well. We can have this any time of year. It's just absolutely amazing. This is a really fun way to go. Okay, mushrooms, lots of zucchini, celery, parsnip chips. These are little sliced parsnips that are nice and crunchy and really sweet. So these make great snacking items. We also have things like cauliflower over here and green tomatoes. My red tomatoes aren't ripe quite yet, so we don't have those in here right now. But freeze-dried zucchini, especially shredded zucchini and summer squash, is a great way to go to extend your meat on any of your meat meals. But it's also a really great way to bake with this during the winter. So if you want zucchini bread during the middle of the winter, having it freeze-dried is really, really great. Plus, I have it all pre-measured out in these quart-sized jars for my family. Here we are over on our protein shelf. This is where I kind of keep my meats, my milks, my whole meals, anything like that. So there's a lot of fun things over here. From cooked salmon, which is great because you can literally just eat this as a dry snack, almost like a jerky. It's really good. To things like really delicious homemade cream of chicken soup that's then been freeze dried. So now I have an instant cream soup powder right here. It's so good in recipes because it's that good flavor of that homemade cream of chicken soup and not the store-bought canned stuff, which kind of pales in comparison once you've tasted the homemade stuff that's fresh. Let's see, we've got some pasta dishes here. This is a spaghetti with a meat sauce. So that's really good. We've got some scrambled eggs that have a bunch of vegetables in them. All of these things will just rehydrate up like really, really nicely. But we also have some plain meats. I've got some chicken here. This is some cooked chicken that I went ahead and freeze dried afterwards. So this is really easy. This is gonna rehydrate up really quickly and be some great chicken for whatever meal I need. This right here is some raw chicken. So when I rehydrate this, I will literally have raw chicken that I can cook freshly in a pan. So this is really nice to be able to have this sitting on the shelf. We also have some beef items, some hamburger patties, some, let's see, milk right here because you can freeze dry your very own milk and have your own milk powder just sitting on your shelf ready to go. Here's another thing though that's super interesting is a colostrum from when the cows were fresh. So this is an instant milk replacer for any baby animals who maybe get orphaned or need a little extra help. I don't have to buy milk replacer at the grocery store, or at the feed store, which is really expensive. I can just make up my own. Okay, on top of all of this, I've got some berries put aside and some fruits, but really aside from the berries, most of the fruits haven't been harvested yet this year, so this shelf is really gonna fill up. When I started freeze drying food, I made a lot of mistakes along the way and I lost dozens of jars of food, which was kind of an expensive, painful mistake. So I set out to learn the right way to freeze dry things so that not only did they store really well and keep their nutrient density and their flavor, but they rehydrated to a really, really great consistency and flavor. And doing all that learning and all that experimenting is what led me to write this Freeze Drying the Harvest book. So in this book, we talk about everything from setting up your first freeze dryer to figuring out how to maintain your freeze dryer to knowing what you need to do to freeze dry any different foods that you're bringing in from the garden or from your homestead or from your local farmer's market. This book is about 388 pages filled with all sorts of reference material. In fact, even as a experienced freeze dryer, I'm already grabbing my book and referring to it all the time because it has so many helpful charts and sections. So the whole first section of the book is really about getting to understand freeze drying and understanding the different steps of freeze drying and what you need to know. But the second part of the book is a complete encyclopedia of exactly what you need to know in order to freeze dry every different food that you might be harvesting out there. From beets and blackberries to blueberries to even things like bone broth, broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, all sorts of foods, crab, cottage cheese, cream cheese. I cover everything that you need to know about freeze drying those things successfully. So if you haven't purchased your copy yet, you want to get yours before September 24th if you can. That's when it actually ships. So before September 24th, it's on pre-order, which means that you get the pre-order bonus package. When you buy the book, you can get it on Amazon or you can get it over at the publisher, Homestead Living. But in either of those places, after you buy the book, just email us with your order confirmation code and we'll get you all hooked up with those pre-order bonuses. So I'll put all that information down below for you in the description, but you guys go grab your book while it's still on pre-order. Thank you guys.